Yo, what's up? A quick intro before I let you watch some boss clips. If you are following me, you already know that Dual Strike is one of my favorite boss killer builds of all time. I always try to make a Dual Strike video every couple of leagues, but still it is sad that no one plays this skill for some reason. Maybe it is not popular enough, let's say. Obviously you need some high investment, but in this video this time I try to make a character that can easily carry 2 or 3 man parties, the endgame bosses. I want to just abuse the mechanics, alright, because you know that Impale is just broken and still got not got any nerfs these days. That's why I try to abuse the broken stuff. While playing solo, obviously you don't need this much DPS, so I always think about you guys, don't worry. So there are gonna be a couple of different equipments, alright. Just check the screen right now. While playing solo, obviously you don't need 300 million DPS. Even this is just absurd. You can even get more life or something like that, maybe even push 7k life and play with 100 million DPS. That is also more than enough. But if you want to just shred all the bosses, you can do something like this. And there's also different talent trees, you know. So just check all these out. I don't miss anything if you're not familiar. That's why I am showing you this kind of stuff. Alright, there is also gonna be lots of different colored skill gems, expensive stuff, cheaper version, mapping version. There is everything in this path of building. Alright, don't miss anything, guys. Obviously I will be back later explaining the build as usual, so I will just let you watch the boss clips for now. Alright, I'm back. Now I will start explaining what the build is and the items, those kind of stuff as usual. So first of all, dual strike. So this is a dual wield skill that requires two weapons, alright? So you just need two fast weapons because this is a strike skill, something like double strike, heavy strike if you are familiar with those skills. You just need a fast character with fast weapons. But I am obviously using a Paradoxica sword because this is the most broken, unique weapon probably these days, and even it got buffed in 3.14 for some reason. I am still expecting a nerf after all these years, but we will see. So for the Paradoxica, you just want something with the highest physical DPS as possible. I will share you a picture of a search result. So here is what you can do. So check that picture. So try to get something with the highest physical damage possible, physical DPS let's say. Obviously a high attack speed is good for this build. You can just get something cheaper if you want. It is no big deal. So for the other hand, you just need a savior, obviously the best in slot for these kind of dual wield builds. If you are not sure what savior does, is whenever you attack and crit, as far as I can remember, you just summon some clones. There are going to be two warriors. They just copy your attack, the attack that you crit. So make sure you attack the boss with dual strike as soon as possible. If you do something like leap slam maybe, those clones will just go and do leap slam. So we don't want that. Just start the boss with dual strike as soon as possible, so your clones are also gonna use dual strike. So each clone deals half of your damage, so 2 clones is equals to actually 1 character. So that means that this basically doubles your DPS. To calculate that, you need to type 100% more damage to anything on your equipment. I just put it on the savior so you can easily see it. That's why you can easily achieve more than 200-300 million DPS. So if you want to play with maybe dual Paradoxica, you can still achieve more than 200 million DPS. But savior is just broken, so that's why we are also using that. For helmet, if you want to just shred everything, obviously Abyssus is your best choice. But since we are also playing a Berserker, if you want to be a little tankier, a rare helmet with a Crusader influence, Fortify effect, plus Awakener orb is not expensive these days. So that's why you can also use an Elder base with nearby enemies take 9% increased physical damage, and combine the both on probably an armor base helmet is your best choice. And also try to get maybe some life or a resist, and that will just carry you. For enchant, I am using a Berserk buff effect because we are obviously popping Berserk and bosses. Since we are also a Berserker, we can just generate a rage while we are attacking, so you will also have a rage, at least 20 or 30 rage as soon as possible while mapping easily. But for bosses, obviously we are using a weapon swap technique that everyone does these days. I will just explain that later in the video. For other enchants, maybe you can pick dual strike crit chance if you don't have a battle fade, because that gives like 90 crit. That is a couple of crits easily. Yeah, maybe something like attack speed with dual strike, but Berserk buff effect is probably your best choice to burst bosses. Body armor, the most important stuff are for DPS. You can apply additional curse on a hunter base, and again attack save crit on a hunter base. There are actually lots of results like this. Since this is a very fast character, I also wanted something with a warlord influence. That's why I also picked minus 15 mana cost. So you can just buy something like this for 10 Exile in Ultimatum League right now, because this is probably not that popular, this kind of chests, for some reason maybe. Maybe some people still play with explode chests, I'm not sure, but I don't think explode is necessary these days after the nerfs, on these kind of builds at least. Because dual strike with ancestral call, plus if you are also following a Varunastra setup that I explained earlier, you can just easily clear maps without explode, but you can also do something like that. But because the character is very fast, a minus 50 mana cost is very good actually if you don't want to put mana cost on your jewelry. But you can also put mana cost on your jewelry. That is not something that I did. If you have a better jewelry, because finding open prefix is very hard for a low budget, let's say. That's why something like this on a chest piece is very important in my opinion. Gloves, one of the easiest way to get curse and other DPS these days. This glove also has a lot of life and resistances, so very good. Try to get something with vulnerability. This is one of our curse choices, and just fit in whatever you can if you have a higher budget. Something like attack speed, attacks have crit strike, or +1 socketed gems. +1 socketed gems isn't that important. You can just easily skip that. You absolutely do not need that. But at least try to get obviously vulnerability plus another DPS stat, attack speed or crit strike chance for attacks. Boots, another obvious choice. Tailwind provides action speed, which means attack speed, cast speed, movement speed, all kind of there are also other stuff, but for this build only attack speed and movement speed. So if you want more DPS, just take tailwind boots. I didn't even get anything with double influence or something like that. Just life, some movement speed, and maybe resists, and that's it. Amulet, because this is a physical attack build, you want a high physical damage to attacks. You can also craft amulets on a fracture base if you want to try your luck. So that's why you can use Essence of Contempt for physical damage, or Essence of Scorn for crit multiplier. So your DPS stats are physical damage to attacks and crit multiplier. After that, just resist, life. Because this build needs some dexterity and intelligence, that's why a base with dex and intelligence is very good. You can also pick Onyx Amulet if you want. And you can finally use some Catalyst to increase that crit multiplier or the physical damage, but I believe increasing the crit multiplier is better. For the Anoint, I picked Tenacity because I also wanted to squeeze in more life. Tenacity is actually a hidden notable that is not normally on the talent tree. You need 2 golden oils and 1 crimson oil. It gives 5% increased maximum life and transfiguration of body. That is a hidden keystone, something like that. That increases your attack damage at 30% of the life value. So if you have a higher life, higher increased lives, let's say, you will also get some increased attack damage. You can absolutely anoint something else if you want more DPS or more health maybe. But this is something. This gives both stuff, just not life. This obviously gives both life and attack damage, so that's why I picked this. For rings, another curse choice, Assassin Mark. Also, again, physical damage to attacks because it's a physical attack build. After that, life and resists. That's it. Other ring, we don't need much stuff. That's why I also picked just a steel ring for a lot of physical damage. Because we cannot actually use precision these days that much because after the flesh and stone resurrection nerf, that's why getting some accuracy on one of your items can either be an amulet or a ring, or if you are playing with a rare helmet, maybe you can also get accuracy on your helmet. So you try to get some decent accuracy on one of your pieces, otherwise it is gonna be harder to keep your hit chance because we are not using precision unfortunately after the flesh and stone nerf. Life and resist to finish the rings, that's it. Belt, obvious choice, Rice-Latte Coil, lot of maximum physical attack damage, but it reduces our minimum physical attack damage. So if you're not familiar how this works, so in this game, most skills, let's say, have a damage range. So you can either do some minimum damages, sometimes do maximum damages. The highest probably gap is on lightning skills actually, but on physical skills also we have this. So we have actually a damage range. You can also check your weapons damage and understand better. It will say something like physical damage 61 to 243, something like that. So your minimum damage is like 61, maximum damage is 243. So you sometimes deal less damage, sometimes deal more damage. So there is actually a damage gap, let's say. So this belt basically increases those maximum hits while lowering the minimum hit. So if you are lucky, if you can deal more higher damage values, let's say, they are going to be even more thanks to this belt. So make sure you buy something with the highest, more maximum physical attack damage as possible. So if you are lucky with your hits, you are gonna just shred the bosses easier. Don't forget to use Abrasive Catalyst to increase that attack values. And that's it. Because Dual Strike has actually a threshold jewel, might and influence. This jewel has a lot of variants. If you get something with the mace version, it will say something like dual strike deals splash damage to surrounding targets while wielding a mace. You can actually use a Varunastra sword, which counts as all one-handed melee weapon types, and use this on your offense as an alternative to Savior because you don't need that much DPS while mapping. So a Paradoxica plus a Varunastra while mapping, combined with Might and Influence Mace version, you can just deal splash damage. And obviously we are also using Ancestral Hold support as a 6 link, so you can do some decent clear thanks to this setup. So don't forget, if you want to bother doing this, if you want a faster mapping character, or maybe you are just playing this character for boss DPS, obviously a boss carry, something like that, you can just skip this. But if you also want to map with this character faster, I highly advise you to use a Varunastra and a Might and Influence Threshold Jewel. Because this is a Threshold Jewel, you need at least 40 dexterity in the radius, so make sure you put that on a good spot. Just follow the talent trees and you will be fine. So in this part, I'm just gonna explain a couple of stuff on the talent tree. Maybe we'll just take a look at some gems, and I will just show you those equipment, different equipments, as I explained at the start of the video. So if you want to play solo, you don't need this much DPS obviously, so you can also play with a lower budget, something like this, cheaper dual strike setup, which doesn't have any Awakened gems on it. Still more than 150 million DPS, simply broken. I'm not even using Abyssus on this version. Dual strike is just that powerful once you invest some good currency on it. For this setup, you'd need something like maybe more than 50 Exile. I am not using any mirrored gear or anything like that. You don't need this, alright? You don't need that much investment actually. But with the obviously expensive stuff, there is not even a battle fate on this version, by the way. This version has it. So for this amount, you probably need more than 100 Exile, let's say. But prices always change, so I don't want to mention that much. But you can easily go something like this if you're playing solo, because this is again more than enough to one-shot everything in the game. So there's gonna also be a mapper stuff that you need to check here. A Varunastra, as I already explained. Cinder Swallow Flask to recover life while mapping. This is very nice instead of a normal silver flask, because we also need a curse immunity. I am also using a basalt flask instead. So this is just flexible, alright, but this is way better for mapping. Tankier character, not even using an Abyssus, and this is more than enough. So for the talent trees, where's that? Yeah, this is the boss killer version. If you don't want to map with this, you can still map, it is fine, but for faster mapping, and yeah, that's pretty much it. This is better. As I explained at the weapons at the start, a Might and Influence combined with Varunastra Sword. So Varunastra Sword counts as all weapon types, that's why using a Might and Influence jewel here for that 40 dexterity in the radius, so we can deal some splash damage, and using dual strike mapping setup if you want. Awaken Ancestral Call for those additional strike targets, plus that splash, you will have some good clear speed. Other than that, maybe let's just check a couple of gems. Buffs, because my gloves has +1, which you don't need. Again, let me just show you like this. You still have more than 30 mana. Maybe you can get more intelligence if you want to use a 4-level enlighten, but you don't actually need this much mana, because my dual strike only needs 11 mana thanks to this body armor. You can just use maybe a -7 mana cost ring on top of this, so your dual strike will only have 4 mana cost, so that will easily fix your problem if you have any problems with this mana actually. But if you have a gloves like this, your enlighten will also gonna be level 4 thanks to this +1, so you will have more mana. So yeah, try to figure that out. If you have any mana problems, so just craft another mana cost on one of your rare jewelry to fix the problem. Pride, obvious choice. Flesh and Stone on Blood Stance. This gives a lot of DPS combined with the Mayhem. So let's just do something like this to show you the good stuff. Yeah. and expensive stuff. So yeah, this is the maximum DPS right now. So with Flesh and Stone plus Maim, we can deal a lot of extra damage because Flesh and Stone provides increased physical damage to maimed targets, and Flesh and Stone actually maims in blood stance. So make sure to pick blood stance. While mapping, you can play on sand stance because it blinds nearby enemies, so you are gonna be tankier. Path of Building just crashed, so maybe the video just cut or something like that, I'm not sure. So yeah, because I got a crash. Enhanced setup. So this is because I wanted to increase some of the gems qualities. So Blood Rage provides attack speed. Its quality also gives additional attack speed. That's why using also Enhanced to boost that quality provides more attack speed. Dread Banner, effect of Aura, so it will also have more Aura effect with Enhanced. Finally, Berserker, attack damage means more attack damage. So using Enhance also provides a lot of DPS, but you can just go with a level 3 if you want. You won't lose that much. This is just to min-max your character if you want to use a level 4 Enhance. Mobility, I'm using Lip Slam. It is probably one of the best for every situation, let's say, because you can also jump through the gaps. You can also play with Whirling Blades because this is a sword build, but with Whirling Blade you cannot jump through, holes, ledges. You cannot climb. All right, that's why Lip Slam is probably your best option. Or maybe you can also use a dash somewhere else. Maybe, I'm not sure, but Lip Slam is my favorite. Life Tap, so it doesn't have any mana cost. Endure Charge on melee stun, so whenever I jump in a pack of monsters while mapping, I can also generate Endure Charges. Finally, Fortify, maybe. You don't need a faster attacks, by the way, because this is a Berserker, a very fast character. If you also use a faster attacks, I am also using a close combat support because this provides a lot of more damage at close range. Because this is a melee skill, obviously we are at the boss's ass all the time. That's why this is gonna provide a lot of details, but this also provides combat rush for 2 seconds when you hit with dual strike, more attack and cast speed to travel skills. So this actually is not that better compared to a faster attacks. That's why you don't need actually a faster attack support on your Lip Slam. You can even use maybe something else instead of Fortify. If you have Fortify on your weapon or maybe on your dual strike setup, and maybe you can even use a portal gem, anything that you want, alright. But definitely you don't need a faster attack gem. Totem setup, obviously a lot of DPS, while Ancestral Warchief only for bosses. Ancestral Protector, again, Phantasmal provides buff effect, which means more attack speed, as you can see, more DPS. You want to also use a multiple totem support, so you can summon every totem at once. For Wall, obviously you don't need this because Wall is actually +1 maximum. But if you want to use a normal Ancestral Warchief on some situations, maybe you can do something like this and summon all of them. Maybe you can just skip that multiple totems if you want, but on something like Sirius, because you don't have WoW Ancestral Warchief at the first phases, that's why using multiple totems can help you to summon both Protector and a normal Warchief at the same time. And that's pretty much it, probably. This is the last stuff. On our second weapon, which is a Savior, while mapping, it can be a Varunastra if you want. We just want this increased duration in our Savior, so actually the Mirage Warriors, where's that, the Reflection clones, will have a higher uptime. That's why you need an increased duration support in your Savior Sword. This is also a perfect place to use a cast and damage taken with Immortal Call for some extra mitigation whenever it is up. And with increased duration, it will also have a little more duration. Also, Equality provides skill effect duration, so make sure you get an Immortal Call with quality. So this is a perfect setup for our Savior weapon. Yeah, I didn't explain this. So how to generate rage at a big boss. So if you are if you are in a map, something like Uber Elder, Shaper, maybe Sirius, where there isn't any ad, so you don't have any rage at the moment, just weapon swap, use 2 fast weapons. You can just use some rare. Let me just craft you a fast weapon because I forgot to put here. It is actually a trusting sword, yeah. Trusting one-handed sword, a jewel foil probably, very fast. These are like 5 chaos on the market, by the way. You just need a fast weapon. On top of that, additional attack speed. So something like this maybe, alright. A very fast weapon. Make sure it has an open suffix. You don't need anything else, by the way. You don't need any DPS or something like that. Make sure it has an open suffix because you will probably don't have enough intelligence like I did. And just craft some intelligence on your rare weapon. And that's it. You just need 2 of these fast weapons with intelligence on your second weapon slot. Put chain hook on one of them. Faster attack, life tap, so it is free. On your other weapon, hydrosphere or whatever, because as you can see it requires a lot of intelligence even on a level 1. You don't want to level this, by the way, because it will require more intelligence. You just need a level 1. So make sure you fix that intelligence by crafting some intelligence maybe on your second weapon slot swords, and an increased ration so it will last longer. So just put your hydrosphere on the ground, use a chain hook until you have 60 rage ready. Weapon swap, pop everything, one shot the boss. That's it. There are additional notes here, you can just read those. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I forgot the Pantheons if you are curious. Soul of Arakali is my favorite on these kind of melee builds. Reduce effect of shock on you, reduce shock duration, cast resist against damage over time, which is also very nice. Pretty much for those reasons, because we are not shock immune and shock is something that can easily kill you. Soul of Relakesh cannot be blinded, cannot be maimed, so this is pretty much for mapping actually. Sometimes monsters blind you, so you actually miss. But you can just pick something else. You can also pick something else as a major Pantheon, just pick whatever you want. Solaris and Lunar is also nice, but these are my favorites on these kind of builds. So that's pretty much it. If you have other questions, if you need some advice maybe on something else about this build, don't forget to join my Discord. There are lots of channels. We have more than 500 members online each day. Just check the Discord, don't be shy. We can also chat in the build help or just general chat channels, alright? And yeah, don't forget to subscribe to support me. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. And yeah, I will see you later. Bye bye.